So in the previous class, we were discussing about the various leadership styles, right? We know what is the principle behind leadership, how a leader should be, what are the different styles of leadership, right? So basically, we need to study only three styles. The first one is based on usage of authority, then based on managerial grit. Third one is leadership as a continuum. All right. So, uh, what is this leadership as continuum? What is the basic? So here we say leadership is a continuum. So it ranges from one and to other. What does it ranges from and to? It ranges from a boss-centered leadership towards a subordinate-centered leadership, and there will be many types in between them. So the other approaches like the managerial grid, right, or the based on authority, we have three different distinct types with it, right? So autocratic, then we had democratic, then free reign. Similarly, we had what the one like the one empower style, then team manager style, then country club style. They were similar to that. Here, it is in between a range. Okay, so there are seven. Okay, what is the first style of leadership? The first one is manager makes a decision and announces it. What sort of leadership is this? The autocratic leadership, right? Very similar to autocratic. So manager is the one who's making the decision and he is the one who is announcing it, right? So manager's authority is maximum over here, right? Then the next style is manager sells the decision. Okay, the manager has decided, manager has announced the decision, but he has to convince his subordinates, convince his followers to accept that. Okay, so there's a his authority has a little bit diminishing. Right? His authority has diminished a little bit. So as we can see, you are moving from left to right. The authority of the manager is slowly but gradually decreasing. So that's why it's moving from a boss centered to a subordinate centered. Okay, but there's more and more powerful or more and more authority to us, the subordinates. What is the third step? It is the manager presents the idea and invites question. Okay, the manager, he gives out the idea. So this is what we are going to do. Okay, he gives out the decision. Now he gives the opportunity to subordinates to ask questions, to raise questions, and manager has to answer to that questions. Okay, just like what we see in a press conference. The minister, the concern, the minister concerned will come out, right, and say what are the decisions. These are the cabinet decisions. No, the people, right, they can question. The press will question the decisions. So minister has to answer to the questions, right? The next step is manager presents tentative decision which is subject to change. What happens over here? Here again, decisions it's made, but it's not final. Just like you get a timetable, you get a tentative timetable. When the beginning of your classes, you get a tentative timetable, and that may change after 1 or 2 weeks, and sometimes it will not. That timetable becomes permanent. Similar to that, okay? A decision has been made, but it can change. Change how? Based on the input from the subordinates. Okay. What is the next style? Here, the manager presents the problem, gets suggestions, and then makes the decision. Okay. Over here, what happens is the manager will say, okay, this is the problem which we are facing. What can we do? They will have a discussion. Now the manager will collect all the suggestions, and then finally, based on this suggestion, it gets the decisions made. Right. So, what sort of leadership is this? So, very similar to democratic leadership, right? So, we are moving towards democratic leadership, right? The next one, the manager defines the limits and asks group to make decision. Okay. So here the first one is before that the manager presents the problem. So the problem is we need to raise our profit, otherwise we cannot survive. So the problem has been set. Okay. The next type here, the manager says we need to increase the profit from 500 to 1000. Okay. So the limit has been defined, and now how can we achieve that? That will be, and the decisions will be made on based on that. So there will be a discussion, and then decisions will be made, right? Then the next type is manager permits subordinates to function within limits defined by the superior. It's more or less like a free reign leadership, right? So So here, what will happen is, manager said, okay, you have to produce this much amount. I don't care how you do it, but you have to produce this much. Or you have to come into office at 9, you can leave at 5. You have to work from 9 to 5. Okay. So he will be giving the permission, he's letting the subordinates to function, okay, on their own, but within the certain limits. And that limit has been defined by him. Okay, that's what we seen like a free rein leadership, right? These are the different styles of leadership when we consider leadership continuum. Okay, we remember the electromagnetic spectrum. Okay, so there is no clear-cut distinction, but it changes from one to other. So it ranges from one to the other, right? So who proposed this model? It was given out by Robert Tannenbaum and Warren H. Schmidt. So here, the leadership involves a variety of styles, ranging from one that is highly boss-centered to one that is highly subordinate-oriented. Okay? And the appropriate leadership style depends upon the leader, follower, and the situation. The leader has a role, the follower has a role, and the situation also has a role. Okay. So what are the forces that influences? First one is the one which influences manager. His belief. Okay. What type of person is he? What is his personality? Okay? His value systems, his confidence. Okay? Confidence in the subordinates and confidence in himself. That feeling of security. Then forces in the subordinates that will affect the manager. That how knowledgeable is that person? How experienced this person? Okay? How willing he is for accepting the responsibility. So when the manager sees that qualities in the person, that will affect the manager. Okay, that will affect the manager's decision. And the final one is the situation. Okay, what are we facing? What is the nature of a problem? What is our tradition? Okay, our institution may have a tradition. I'll be running my business. Maybe I inherited from my father. My father was running the business in a certain way. So I'll be following that certain way. Okay, that becomes tradition. Okay, so what is my tradition? What is the nature of the problem? What is the pressure of time? Okay, these things has to be seen to it, right? Then the models which we explained, discussed a little bit, is explained in detail over here. And what is the final takeaway from this? Final takeaway is that the continuum approach offers a range of styles with no suggestion. Okay, so basically we saw different ranges, different styles were there. Was centered to subordinate centered. So manager makes a decision and announces it. Manager sells the decision. So it's a range. Okay? In between that, anything can happen. Okay, so it's a range of styles with no suggestion that one style is always right and another is always wrong. Okay, so it will depend upon the manager, the people, or the subordinates, and the situation. That will define what type of style is suitable. So we cannot say that one style is right, one style is wrong. Even if we say if we feel the autocratic or boss-centered style is wrong, okay, we should have a voice in what we have to say. But the situation is like when the subordinates don't have the knowledge, they don't have the experience, right? So then autocratic style is just take for example yourself. The first day you went for your survey lab, yeah, let it be any lab, or the first time you got a theodolite on your hand. Okay, you had an instrument in your hand. What did you do? You knew nothing about that. You don't have the knowledge, you don't have the experience. Okay? Even maybe theoretically you know what is that, what is it, there's a telescope, there's a dial gauge, there's a ring, right? You know that is there, but you don't know anything more than that, right? You have zero experience, zero, or maybe a very little knowledge. I won't say zero, but a very little knowledge. There, what type of should the teacher do? Your lab instructor, it will be autocratic. Don't touch it. Okay, I'll tell you what to do. Okay, the leader or the the map will explain to you what has to be done. Okay, turn this dial, turn that dial. You have to carry it like this, right? So there it is an autocratic style. But after a couple of experiments, what happened? You became knowledgeable. Okay, you have the knowledge, you have the experience to utilize it. Then the ma'am wouldn't come and bug you, right? You can do it on your own. So in the first approach, the autocratic style is the one we have to do. If it is a free reign style, then what will happen? You may spoil the instrument, right? You don't know what to do, right? or it will take more time for you. Okay? There's another possibility that it will take more and more time. You need to understand it first. So your time, your effort has to be wasted over there. You need to understand about the instrument first. Even in democratic cell, okay? There's no point in asking a question to a person who doesn't have the knowledge about it. So democratic style is not feasible in that case. So that autocratic style is. So it will depend upon the situation, okay, where and when you have to use it. Right. Next is transactional and transformation leadership. Right. So that's our next type of leadership. So transaction means it is a traditional leadership, right? Traditionally, what we do, a traditional form of leadership. Okay, and what does a transaction leader do? The transaction leader identify what the subordinates need to achieve. Okay, what the subordinates need to do to achieve the objective. The leader has a clear concept of what has to be achieved. He knows what has to be done. Okay, it is fixed. So he knows I need to produce, and how can I produce it? So this person, particular, I have three persons under me, A, B, and C. So A has to do this work, B has to do this work, and C has to do this work. So this person, the leader or the manager know what A has to do, B has to do, C has to do. So he knows what each subordinate has to do so that we can reach the objective. Okay. Then clarify organization roles and tasks. It's not that he alone can do this, right? He knows, but until and unless I know, it's not, it won't be effective, right? My leader, my manager knows what I had to do. Okay, what I do will lead to my success or success of the company. But I should also know, okay, what is the manager's expectation from me. So my tasks, my role, it has to be clearly explained to me. Okay? So it has to be clarified. Okay? So clarify organization roles and tasks, right? My manager should tell me, okay, so you have to do this. Okay, you have to do like this. Your role is this. You can question him. You have to answer to that person. Like that, everything should be clarified. Right? The third thing is set up an organization structure. Right? So who should I answer to? Okay. I should answer to this person. I can order this person to do something. Okay. So these persons work under me. These many people are above me, and I have to answer to them. So that's the organized structure. You have your project, you have project guide, you have your right project coordinators there, staff coordinators there. So project coordinators, staff coordinators will discuss. Staff coordinators will let the HOD know. HOD will pass the information to the principal. Like that, there is a structure. So such a structure should be formed. Then provide for social needs of the followers. And before that, he has to reward the performance. Right? Whenever a person is doing a good job, person should be rewarded. Okay? Because if and then only the person will be willing to do more. Okay? Otherwise, he'll be okay, that's enough. That will be the feeling. Right? And provide for the social needs of their followers. Okay? So all of us, we are all social beings, right? So even though we may feel we are introverts, but we need a help. We need someone to people around us to help us. We need to interact. We are social beings, so we'll have social needs. By being a manager, I have to understand that this person is having a family. He's not a machine, so I cannot expect him to do the certain things. Okay, maybe like the holidays. Okay, so there are certain religious holidays are there. Right? So I cannot expect a person who's having that particular religion to work on that particular day. I should understand the social need. Okay, social he needs to be with his family. Okay, so there may be someone who is not following the religion who can work on that particular day. Right? See, we even on take for example the KCB. Okay, even on a Vishu or a Ramzan or a Christmas or any other facility or a police work. Okay, even on these special occasions, there are persons who are working. Okay, so and there are persons who need people who need leave also. So I, being a manager, should understand the social needs, right? So these leaders are working very hard and they try to run the organization effectively and efficiently, right? So what is happening over here? The manager is taking extra effort, right? He is knowing everything and anything about the business. He knows everything about the business. He knows everything about the staff, right? Then only he can work effective. He will be effective. Okay? Then only he can make sure that the workers are efficient. So these persons, these managers are extra hardworking, right? So that is transactional, traditional. Understand the words, okay? Transaction doesn't mean tradition, but transaction, for in this case, is equivalent to traditional. Okay, so you can uh, elaborate on that when the question comes, right? Now, what are the strengths of this? Here, the roles and expectations are clearly defined. So I know what is expected of me. Okay, I need to produce this much. So I can strive for that. I can work for that, right? And what are the weaknesses? Weaknesses, creativity is very limited because the goal is set. So I know what I have to do. So my mindset is fixed. I need to produce 100. So the only the thing in between in front of me is 100. The goal is set. So I need to think much about it. So creativity is limited. Then it's not fit for places that need innovative ideas because everyone is going in a prescribed manner. That is transactional. That's why we say transaction. See, when you're sending someone money through Google Pay, what would you do? You go, you will purchase, you'll scan the QR code, you type in your code, you send the money, right? So it is a transaction. Thing is set. You enter your PIN, you enter the password, scan the QR code, get to the that page, enter your amount, then press send, then you again press in your MPIN, then you send it. So that is a fixed way. So that's what transactional leadership is like, right? The next one is transformation leadership. So transformation means transform, change. Okay. So transformation leadership is an approach that causes change in people. Okay. It's an approach that causes change in people. Right. So transformation leaders presents a vision, inspire and motivate followers. Okay. So transformation leaders present a vision. So they have the vision. So we need to say like it will be. So we are presently here. Now we are producing 500. We need to produce 1,000. So he has a vision. And now what will do? He will inspire and motivate his followers. Okay. So I will feel being when the leader tells me that you have to produce 1,000. This is the need of our hour, the need of our situation. When he explains to me like that, if he can inspire and motivate me, so I'll take a positive attitude, right? I will try to work for 500,000. Okay, I'll try maximum for producing 1,000. So motivate the followers and create a climate favorable for organization change. It is designed to transform the organization quickly to respond to the rapid changes in the environment. Right? Because we know every day, single day, there's changes in the environment. Even yesterday, what happened? Most of the shops were open, but suddenly announcement came that certain shops has to be closed before this time. So it has to be closed. So everything is changing rapidly, very rapidly. So this kind of leadership can work out there. Okay. What are the strengths? What are the strengths here? It finds a better way of doing something. Okay, what is it? So rather there 100. Here also my aim will be to produce 100 itself, but I'll think about how can I better this? Okay, what is the better way of doing? How can I improve? Okay, improve the way of. Okay, it helps to change the system to accommodate the vision rather than working within the existing limitation in the system, right? Uh, in certain cases, what will happen? There will be a limitation, like we said in the movie Swadesh, right? So this their movie. What's the The villagers were so accustomed to the power outages. Okay, they didn't feel the need for power itself. So they were happy with their limitation. They got adjusted to the limitations, right? So we have a see the Newton's law. Every body will stay the rest or the constant motion until and unless an external force acts upon it. So that force is needed. Okay, so this system helps act as that force, helps to change the system to accommodate the vision rather than working within the existing limitations in the system, right? And what is the weakness? The weakness is basically us, the humans. We are used to doing something in a certain way, but suddenly when a new change comes up, we may not be able to get used to that. Okay, chances of conflict with people to resist change. I may resist that particular change. Then lacks conceptual clarity. Again, because here itself it is vision. Okay, so everyone may not understand it. Okay, what is the vision? Some people may get it, some people may not. You say, we have produced 500 and this person is saying 1000. How can we double? So the person may not be able to understand that concept. So there is a lack of conceptual clarity can occur here also, because we are talking in terms of vision and all. We are not going for anything defined. Okay. So if you compare the transaction and transformation leadership, see here I have given only 3 points, but when the question comes, look at the problem. Okay, look at how many marks are there. It's asked. Look at the marks and then answer. Okay, you can use the points from what we had discussed earlier also. Okay, what is the thing? Transaction leaders uses rewards and punishments. Okay, it will be rewards and punishments to initiate the followers. And transformation, it will be inspiration. He will be motivated to motivation for the followers. Then transaction leader tries to change the present conditions. Okay, transformational leaders, they will try to improve the present condition. Okay, transaction change, and the one will be improve. Okay, transaction leadership focuses on planning and execution, right? Transformation leadership focuses on innovation. Okay, when the question comes, look at the market distribution and then answer. Okay, the better thing, one thing we can do is whenever this kind of distinction comes up, like what we had in programmed and non-programmed decisions, right? What is programmed, what is non-programmed first? The first point should be that. That will easily carry 1 mark. Next one should come after that only. Write the definitions. What that particular thing is. Before compare transaction and transformation. Right? What is transactional? Right? What is transformation? Then go for the next other points. Right? So with that session is over. The last session of our subject is controlling. So we were discussing about manager roles, manager functions, right? We studied the planning, organizing, staffing, leading, directing. That portion was concluded now, and now we move on to the last manager function, that is controlling. Right? Controlling means it is a process of setting standards, measuring actual performance, and taking corrective actions so that the organizational objectives and the plans to attain them are accomplished. Right? So what is happening over here? So the first thing is we need to set a standard. Okay. So we are our company, we are having a pen company, right? Pen. So we are going to produce 1000 pens daily. We are going to produce 1000 pens, 1000 pens of this particular color. Okay. The pen is of this particular quality. That is, this pen can be used to write 1000 meters, or maybe the pen can be used to write 1 lakh meters, 1 lakh kilometers. That's our assurance. Okay. We are setting our standards. Okay. So what are our standards? One is we are going to produce daily. We are going to produce 1000 pens of this particular color, and that each pen will be able to write 1 lakh kilometers. Right? We are extraordinary. So that's our standards. Now what has to be done? Once we have started the production, we need to measure the actual performance. Right? How are we doing? Are we able to produce 1000 pens? If yes, very good. Okay. If no, what can be done? Okay. Whether our pens can write for 1 lakh kilometers. Right? That has to be also looked for. 1 lakh, that's to be measured. Measuring the actual performance. Then we need to know the deviations. What is the deviation? So we are producing, our standard is 1000. We are producing 900. So we are having 100 deviation. We are going minus 100. Right? So what can be done? Deviation is minus 100. And what can be done? Right? That's good. So we are producing. We have our standard was to produce a pen that rides for 1 lakh kilometers. Now this pen is riding only 90,000 kilometers. What can be done? So we need to take the corrective actions. And why are we doing this? So that the organizational objectives and the plans to attain them are accomplished. Because we have planned, we have staffed, we have organized so that we can produce 1000 pens of 1 lakh kilometers quality. Right? So that is basically what is controlling. Yeah, we are setting our standard, we are measuring the performance, and then after finding what is the deviation, we are finding out what are the corrective measures which has to be taken. Right? And why do we do this? To achieve our organizational objective and to meet our plans. Right? Now, what is the importance? The first one is it is the basis of future actions, right? So based on this, we are producing 1,000. We have the thought of producing 1,000. We produce only 900. So we need to change our future course of actions, right? Or rather, we had the hope for 1,000 and we produce 1,100. 100 more, 100 plus. We are going to 100 plus. So we can change our tactics, right? Then facilitates decision making, right? Again, we after knowing the deviations, then we can decide on what is to be done. Ensures standards because we have set a standard and we are making sure that we are meeting that standard. Then facilitates decentralization. So authority is decentralized over here, right? Ensures effective and optimal utilization resources. Again, uh, because we know where something has to be done, right? So we can ensure that there is effective utilization of resources, and that is it's also optimum. It is not more, it is not less, it is optimum. Then facilitates coordination. Again, we have to take the corrections, right? So we become more coordinated. Then efficiency is improved, quality is improved, and we can respond to environmental changes. And basically, we can gain competitive advantage. So the first thing which we are discussing in the first module, competitive advantage, which no other business can have, but us, we are having it especially, right? So that's about controlling. Now, how does this work? Okay, so the basic control process, wherever it is, okay, wherever it is found, and where whatever is being controlled, okay, so the basic control process is the same. Okay, whether you are producing a rocket ship, okay, you are producing a rocket engine, or you are producing a or a what or say okay, whether you are producing you are doing a classroom work or you are producing a movie, okay, or you are making a movie, there the basic controlling steps will be same. Now what is the basic control process? What is the first step? The first step is establishing standards. The first and foremost thing is we need to establish standards. Okay, the control process begins with planning and establishing standards. We need to establish the standards. So what you have to understand is okay, standards are criteria for performance and should be very clear, concrete, and measurable in nature. Okay, it should be measurable. It should be very clear. It should be concrete and it should be measurable. So because clear and concrete in the sense, and no, different persons should not interpret it in different ways. Okay, when I say 1,000 pens, okay, you can take it as 1,000 blue pens, 1,000 black pens, 1,000 white pen, or 1,000 red pen. But if I say 1,000 black pens, there also you can take 1,000 gel pens, 1,000 ballpoint pens, 1,000 ink pens, okay, of black color. Okay, but if I say 1,000 black ink ballpoint pen, okay, now it is fixed. There's no ambiguity, right? So it should be very clear and it should be very concrete, and it should be measurable because 1,000 is a measurable quantity, right? Also, what can be standards can be selected points in a plan. Okay, for us, like whenever we are doing construction, an inspection will be happening, right? So the engineer will come, he'll dig a hole in the anywhere where he needs. You might seen in the movies, you might have seen in the real life. He'll dig up a portion of the pavement, okay, and you see how much is the bitumen. Okay, what is the bitumen content over there? What is the depth of the subgrade? What kind of a subbase is there? Right, all these things will be analyzed. So that is the point of time. That happens at a point of time. Similarly, if you are doing for concreting, before you are concreting, what you have to do is you have to take a portion. You may have to do a slump test in the field to see what is the workability. You may do slump test, or what will happen is you will make cubes. Okay, you will cast cubes in the at the site. Okay, you will cast cubes at the site, mark the dates on it, just like what you do in your lab. You will do the same thing in a site. Okay, and then after you will send it for testing. You send it to a college for testing. Then the college will or a certain lab will perform the strength test and tell you this particular M20 grade of concrete, and you have to submit this to the your client. Okay, because the client has no way of knowing whether you are using M20 concrete or M10 concrete. Okay, both are concrete, but the design would be for M20 concrete, and you have to do M20 concrete, right? Or maybe M35 concrete, or M15 concrete, M25 concrete, whatever it is, right? So that's the point of time. So what will happen is, engineer will come for your concreting, he'll come and observe. The standards are selected points in the plan at which performance is measured. Okay, and this will give the manager an idea about how he does not have on site, right? He has to see everything, every process. But here, you can make sure that just by testing any portion, you can make sure that your quality is maintained, right? If not, you will have to redo your job. Okay, you lose your money, right? So that's a possibility of that. So this is how standards comes into play. Now, measuring the actual performance. So performance measures are expressed both in terms of quantitative and qualitative, because we have to take in certain cases it would be in terms of quality, and in certain cases it might be in terms of quantity. So that will depend upon what is the scenario in which you are using it, right? Whether it's quality or whether it's quantity, right? Uh, like we said, Honda City can be mass produced, but a Maybach will be handcrafted one. So we cannot compare both. Quality control different. Okay? The one is qualitative, the other one is quantitative. Okay? Now, after you have measured the now what is the now we have to compare the actual performance against the standards. What was our standard? What is our actual performance? The actual performance is compared to set standard. So what was our actual? What was the 1,000 pence? 1,000 black pence with 1 lakh kilometer, right? So are we meeting there or not? So now deviations can be identified. So deviation means it's the gap between the actual and planned targets. Now the actual performance can be more than, less than, or equal to. Okay, maybe 1,000, more than 1,000, or it will be less than 1,000, 900, 1,000, or 100, 1,100. It's a possibility. So we need to adjust accordingly. And now next thing, we have to adjust accordingly, right? That is the correction. Based on the results, managers can know where corrective measures must be applied, what has to be done, where it has to be done, right? So managers can do the correction, because maybe it may see we failed to produce 1,000 pens. Okay, it may be because the raw materials were late. The raw materials didn't arrive on time. So manager knows that was the case. So that is the we have to take it. Or it may be due to the frequent power outages. We faced a lot of power outages, so our machineries couldn't work, and that was a problem. So manager again can rent out a generator, right? Managers can know what is to be done. That is the corrections for deviation. And manage, how does he correct deviations? The first one is by redrawing the plans or modifying the goals. Sometimes we opted for 1,000, but we couldn't reach 1,000, right? So because sometimes it may be because 1,000 is not achievable within our scenario, within our constraints. 1,000 is not something which can be achieved. So that may be the reason. So in that case, manager has to understand that he has to redraw the plans, or he has to modify. Rather than going for 1,000, we should go for like what 750 by reassignment of clarification of duties. So that is the first part. Okay, the goal was too high. Now it may be because of the subordinates. So certain person can be reassigned, more duties can be clarified. That may also help. Okay. The other method is we can add new staff. Additional staff can be added because the existing staff cannot handle the burden. So we can add existing additional staff. We can train the subordinates who are already working there. We can train them, or we even fire ineffective workers. We can terminate ineffective workers. That can also be done by the managers for as a check for deviation or as a correction method, and by understanding best the leadership. So understanding himself, he can change himself. Okay, so maybe he's having following a free rein leadership style. So he knows this is not working. So he has to change himself. So he can go to maybe democratic or maybe autocratic. So that will depend upon the situation, right? Okay. So we stop here for today. Please let me know if you have any doubts.